All right, we are good to go. So welcome everyone to our final professional development lunch talk of the semester. Today we'll be going over some different internship opportunities that you can get involved with at NASA and other places. And we'll start off just with a brief introduction to internships from Spectrum Leadership, and then we'll have some presentations by Dr. Meeson and um, and
Dr. Mandel.
That's right. I'm sorry. So yeah, but Natasha, do you want to get started?
Sure. So as Michael said, we are going to be just discussing briefly the basics of internships as a whole. You can also see our socials linked there along with a QR code to our website if you have any questions over the course of this process and you want to reach out. So just right off the bat, first things first, why do an internship in the first place? So internships provide you with the opportunity to do research and learn on a job site rather than a university or academic institution, which can be very useful since you're seeing it outside of the strictly academic sense. Internships differ from REUs in that an REU is completely research focused, while with an internship you can see if you would like to work at the company. An REU can be hosted at many different sites as well, including universities, and are less tied to the university and more tied to the program that you are applying to. Internships can occur anywhere from private industry, such as Boeing or SpaceX or Northrop Grumman, to government facilities such as NASA or the Department of Defense. Both places will allow you to do research and further your career. It's just in different ways. So then basically the internships 101. So internships can occur during the summer or over the whole year, although they are generally more popular over the summer since you don't have classwork competing for your time. And they can come in multiple forms, including paid, unpaid with credit, or just unpaid. So a paid internship means you get compensated for your time. So these are the best kinds of internships traditionally, as your time and work are being given value, but they are also more competitive due to the nature of the fact that they give pay. Unpaid with credit means that you don't get compensated financially, but you can apply the internships to get college credits. For instance, you can apply the internship to get the research credits, for instance, through Mason. Or unpaid internships are, just as they say, you're not paid for your work because the experience is meant to be the pay in that situation. Above all else, do not feel like you have to accept an unpaid internship if you can't afford to do so. No matter what it can do for your career, it's not worth it if you're struggling or having to work multiple jobs in order to make ends meet. It's about making sure that you're okay first.
And then next we'll talk a little bit about the application process. So this can differ between internships, but generally it's going to be similar to what you'd see on an application for an REU or for a college application. First, there's going to be just a general information section, possibly with an essay or a personal statement or something of that nature. And then there's going to be a second stage interview for those that get through the first round of admissions. And then we have a few tips for your resume. Basically, you want to make sure that's always up to date and mention your GPA and work and research experience and any other activities. So you can include things like mentorships or being a mentee, any volunteer work you've done, or any extracurricular work. And you can also list things like honors, achievements, and scholarships. Even if it's something small and you don't think it's that important, just list it anyway, because it couldn't hurt you. And for your CV in particular, you want to basically just list everything. And it can only help you to list more things. You want to kind of bolster yourself as much as you can for these applications, and don't downplay your achievements. And if applicable, you can also mention any publications or presentations that you've been a part of, even if you weren't the main person that were presenting, or if you were just like the 100th author or something, mention it anyways, because it's still important. And in addition, sometimes internships may be awarded as a part of a scholarship or some other award. It might come with an internship that you can do. And so if that's the case, the application will be the same as whatever the application is for the scholarship. And those can also be very similar to REUs and other application processes. So just to summarize a bit of what we talked about, internships, they're a great way for you to gain experience in a more traditional job setting when compared to REUs or other research specific internships. And whether they're paid or unpaid, you'll be getting great experience in whatever the internship is, and the application process is going to be probably familiar to you if you've done any applications for scholarships or colleges before. And
Excellent. Yeah. And if anybody would like to contact us here at the Spectrum Leadership, you can contact us with the following social media links that you will be able to click whenever this is posted to our website, and the website QR code there. You can reach us through any of those means. And if you would like to get in touch with the speakers after these presentations, then please reach out to us and we can go ahead and connect you from there. So from here, we'll go ahead and turn over the floor to our speakers. So first up is going to be Dr. Avi Mandel, and he's going to talk a little bit about internships and postbacks at NASA Goddard.
Great, thanks, Natasha and Michael. Yeah, as was stated, my name is Avi Mandel. I'm in the, oops, I think it looks like I need to be given permission.
I just made you a co-host in case you wanted to share anything. Sorry about that.
Yeah, no worries. Yeah, so let me share my PowerPoint. So again, my name, I'm in the Planetary Science Division at NASA Goddard, where I think some of you might know that Natasha is now participating in some research projects as part of her grad school fellowship. And my major focus is work on exoplanet atmospheres. And I've been a part of a group at Goddard called the Sellers Exoplanet Environments Collaboration, which you see here. Let me see if I can actually go to presenter mode. See if this works. Screen. Can you see my presentation?
Yes,
Yeah?
we can see it.
Okay. So I'm going to be talking today, giving you an introduction to our research collaboration group called SEEK, but more specifically talking about our opportunities for what we're calling post-bac research assistance for post-bac researchers at Goddard. So as Natasha said, this is a little bit different than an internship. This is really essentially a job opportunity at NASA Goddard for graduates of undergrad institutions as essentially a preparation for opportunities in grad school or STEM business opportunities, jobs that you might have in the future. And this is essentially sort of, something that has kind of bubbled up slowly over time at Goddard, because we've realized that not a lot of these research opportunities exist outside of internships, which are really for students in undergrad, and graduate school, and actual, real sort of long-term job opportunities. And these days, more and more students are graduating, with undergraduate experience in research, maybe during the summers or as a kind of a part-time position, but not with a lot of experience on what a STEM research position might entail or what it might mean in a full-time position at a research institution like Goddard. NASA and other NASA institutes or similar types of places. And the other factor at play, of course, is getting into graduate school. Getting into graduate programs, PhD programs, and master's programs is getting harder and harder. And the bar is being raised more and more for research experience before you go to graduate school. And it seemed like there was a need and an interest for students who are coming out of undergrad to gain that research experience, possibly get the opportunity to publish a paper or papers before applying to graduate school. And that's especially true of students coming from programs or experiences that were less research focused or gave less opportunities to do research in their undergraduate environments. So that's what was the sort of impetus for creating this program. And it's really only we've only been doing this for the last couple of years. And we've only been doing it as part of our SEEK collaboration at Goddard. So it's really in its infancy, really, but I'm giving the opportunity, Natasha offered the opportunity to present a little bit about this and hear some questions and comments from all of you. So let me start this off. So this is what SEEK is. It's a research collaboration across all of the major science areas at NASA: heliophysics, earth science, planetary science, and astrophysics, with the focus on better understanding the types of atmosphere and surface environments that we might discover on exoplanets. For anyone who's not familiar, an exoplanet is another name for an extrasolar planet or a planet orbiting another star, a nearby star. And we know of thousands of exoplanets now through NASA missions and other and ground-based telescopes that have discovered these exoplanets over the last 20 to 25 years. And we're really entering the era now of exoplanet characterization. And as we launch the James Webb Space Telescope next month, in fact, we'll really start to enter the opportunity to really investigate the atmospheres and surfaces of these planets in detail. And now is the time to really pull together our knowledge and our understanding of stars through heliophysics, of the study of our own star and other stars, through stellar spectral models, coronal mass ejection models, star-planet interaction models, and how those stars interact with the atmospheres and the surfaces of planets like those in our solar system. Giant gas-rich planets, planets like our own Earth, Venus, smaller planets. And we have understanding of those environments through our models, both 3D and 1D models, as well as our understanding of the radiative transfer that occurs in these atmospheres. And finally, we have to think about, for exoplanets, how we actually observe those planets. How we examine, what types of telescopes we use. For example, we've used the Hubble Space Telescope quite a bit to investigate the atmospheres of large and hot planets around other stars. But we're now, preparing to launch the James Webb Space Telescope, and we're now starting to think about future telescopes beyond James Webb. We have the Roman Space Telescope coming up to be launched in the mid-2020s, and then beyond that, we are hoping to plan for telescopes to observe Earth-like planets around sun-like stars in the next 10 to 20 years. So how do we investigate these, how do we examine and interpret this data? How do we apply our models to these types of environments? That's what SEEK is really focused on, in a sense. And we have a wide range of research theme groups. We have, as I said in the first slide, more than 40 scientists across all these different divisions who are leading efforts in understanding stellar hosts and planetary evolution, atmospheric composition and chemistry and dynamics, interiors, processes like plate tectonics and outgassing through volcanoes and other sources to impact the atmosphere, habitability, and of course, actual observational simulation. So We have a wide range of projects led by different researchers whose names you can see here, but it's just to give you an impression of all the sort of diversity of different projects going on within SEEK. And this is why we felt it was really valuable, because of the number of different scientists working together and the different types of projects, to make this an opportunity for different types of research opportunities for early career scientists who have just graduated undergrad with a degree, it's somewhere in relation to these types of projects. Finally, another great opportunity that SEEK has built up is what's called the EMAC, the Exoplanet Modeling and Analysis Center. It's our community repository for exoplanet tools. And you can go to this website right here and look at this wide range of essentially open source software tools for modeling and analyzing exoplanets that have been developed in the community and submitted to this repository to be searchable and explore and able to be explored and downloaded across all these different areas of study. So obviously I don't have time to go into all of this in this presentation, but this is another area that we are sort of engaging early career scientists and as in collaboration with our SEEK team members to help develop. So what does this mean for PBRs, postback researchers in this sense? So as I said, it's a real opportunity to bridge this experience level from undergraduate experience where there may or may not have been true research experience to graduate school, where the classes become harder, the research opportunities become more wide-ranging and intense. So a postback research opportunity gives a real opportunity to bridge that. And SEEK gives a wide variety of potential research projects. One thing to remember, though, is that in any particular year, only a few of these projects will be looking for candidates. And so when we advertise the opportunity, we advertise a wide range, a full range of project sort of topics. But then when the selection process happens, we have to examine the candidates and the projects that are in need of new PBRs and figure out how to match will work in that sense. But it will be a full-time, research job in this sense. Not, in that sense, it will be different than a sort of internship, which has a major educational focus. This will be a true sort of full-time research position. But because of the placement, because we're at Goddard at a NASA center, there's a huge range of seminars, of colloquia, of even sort of, boot camps for different types of research sort of skill sets. And more, we have different opportunities for career assistance for early career scientists at NASA. So it's this sort of middle ground, this sort of hybrid of research opportunity and career development. And then, of course, this question of previous experience. So because of the short-term nature of this type of position, it's 1 to 2 years in the sense in preparation for graduate school, coming in with previous experience in scientific computer programming or laboratory experience will be a big plus. And we want to understand, what the baseline of our applicants or candidates is. However, it's not a requirement. And in this sense, sort of having some experience and understanding of exoplanets, either through classwork or through other work, is going to sort of be, something that sort of, and of course, enthusiasm is going to be more important than specific project experience. Okay, nuts and bolts. The SEEK PBR program is part of the CREST 2 Postback program, which is run by the Southeastern Universities Research Association, or SURA. So this is a wide-ranging postback program through 4 postbacks at NASA Goddard. And so, you can explore more about that. You can actually look that up. I should have put the URL here, but I believe they have a website related to that. And we worked through them to post application opportunities starting on December 1st, and with the application period open through March 1st and even beyond. So there'll be a long period of time to sort of understand application materials, and work to get recommendation letters. We need 2 recommendation letters, as well as transcripts and application materials. And it's, as I said, it's a real job with salary and benefits comparable to similar research STEM type positions for early career folks. And the start date would be essentially next summer, extending for about a year or possibly more, depending on what the opportunities are available for after that. And one last thing I wanted to sort of point out is that this year, sort of in our 3rd year of doing this, we're really trying to sort of put an emphasis on avoiding the impact of unconscious bias on our selection process. It's really hard to figure out how to match candidates with research opportunities, because candidates are coming from all wide varieties and different types of backgrounds. And we only have a few slots open of really specific types of research opportunities. And so in the past, often we have essentially just tried to let the research mentors, or supervisors, just pick a candidate that they felt seemed to match best, possibly with an interview included, but sometimes not. But obviously this, in examining this process, we've realized that this can really sort of lead to sort of a blind spot, essentially, for really providing opportunities for candidates who maybe didn't sort of stick out immediately through their experience or other aspects of their resume. And also, we weren't necessarily recruiting as widely as we could have. We were just putting an ad in the American Astronomical Society job register, which may have not sort of been as apparent to candidates who weren't sort of keyed in or aware of that job register. So we're trying to change this time around. We're trying to make this more wide-ranging recruitment process, and also to make the review process more bias blind, so that we don't let these areas of unconscious bias creep in, and we sort of provide a platform and an opportunity for a broader range of applicants to float, to get noticed and to float to the top of this process. So that's all I have, essentially. Stay tuned. Obviously, we'll let Spectrum know when this is posted next month and where it will be posted. You can always contact me if you have more specific questions. Of course, the process of application, and selection will play out over the next year. And so, I'm happy to provide sort of nuts and bolts sort of answers and sort of direct potential candidates to where they can apply. I don't want to give, definitely won't be giving sort of preference to early applicants or to people who with sort of prior connections or experience, but I'm happy to direct candidates to where we can provide more information. And then, of course, if you know people who would be good candidates or are very interested in this type of opportunity between undergraduate and grad school, please feel free to spread the word, and hopefully we can get this information out as widely as possible. So happy to answer questions.
Excellent. Thank you so much for that talk. It was great. Tons of information. That's what we were looking for. So I was charged with asking a question for a student that couldn't be here. What is the application process like as far as applying to SEEK? Are we looking for personal statements? Is there an interview?
Yeah, great question. So the first round of application will essentially be a personal statement, just a statement of experience, essentially, and background, an unofficial transcript, a resume, it doesn't have to be an extensive resume, but just an understanding of what the background was and what the background is, and then 2 letters of recommendation. So, the first round essentially will be that process, and then we'll have a review committee, a small committee, who tries, as I said, to review these initial application materials in somewhat of a sort of essentially candidate blind process in a sense, an institution blind process to start out with. Then we'll sort of winnow down the candidate pool to a small pool who will provide interviews to, very short interviews, informal probably over Zoom, something like this, with again not just with one person, but with a small, 1 or 2, probably 2 people from different types of experience and career backgrounds. And then from there, we'll try to make matches or selections for specific research opportunities. But that's sort of a general overview of what the types of the application process will be. And again, we're still trying to make sure that we structure this in a way that is as sort of open to as many types of applicants as possible.
Excellent. Thank you so much. That's great. Are there any other questions?
I had a quick question.
Yeah.
About the researchers that are specifically looking at or relying on JWST data. Not to jinx it, but let's say like the worst happens and it gets delayed again or something, or something goes wrong in the launch. Do they have like backup projects that they have in case that happens, or how does that work?
Yeah, no, that's definitely the worst possible scenario for most of science at NASA, actually, for JWST to somehow not launch successfully. But in fact, SEEK research projects are essentially mostly agnostic to the actual data that will be taken, because we focus a lot on essentially physically based models for exoplanets themselves. So in this sense, the projects rely on sort of understanding of planetary atmospheres across a range of different types of planets and focused on a range of different types of data products. So JWST is only sort of one of the missions that we're focused on sort of preparing for in the future. It would definitely sort of change the direction of a lot of these projects, probably focused more, if somehow something happened with JWST or there was some huge snafu with what happened in the future. But it would just be a change in direction, not a cancellation or sort of overall overhaul of the collaboration. So the projects will be sort of much more general than focused specifically on one data set or one observatory.
I see. Thank you.
Yeah, and again, in a future, I think it'd be great actually, through Spectrum or some other process for GMU, if we can give a sort of more research-focused presentation about the types of projects that SEEK researchers are doing, as in the specific, sort of research problems they're tackling. Let me give an example. Maybe we can set that up.
Oh yeah, definitely. That would be a great talk to do. And I know our students are always looking for opportunities wherever they can find them. So it would definitely be very well received. Are there any other questions at this time? You might get bombarded later with students that watch this asynchronously, but we'll try our best to mitigate that tsunami for you. But for now, thank you so very much for coming in and giving us this presentation. It was great, highly useful, and we really appreciate your time.
Yeah, happy to. And please don't, yeah, I'm happy to answer questions, or, I may sort of point, questioners to someone else who either can help with a specific topic or something like that. But happy to be an interface in that sense.
Perfect. I'm sure that people will use that freely. And now we turn over the floor to Dr. Mason, who will talk more about other internship opportunities at NASA.
Good morning. Actually, it's afternoon, isn't it, everyone? So give me a moment to share. Hopefully I can find the right window. That's not what I want to share. Okay. Sorry, we don't use Zoom, so I always have difficulty getting Zoom to work because I don't know how to make it work to drive it. So let me try on sharing this. Where was that share button? Cancel.
It's
Let me put this. I think I have to have my presentation on the screen that the viewer is on. So
yes.
I think I've got that sorted out. Let me see if this works. So can you see my presentation now?
No, you'll have to share screen from the Zoom window as well.
I did that. Click the little green share screen button. And I'm on seeing you. And my screensavers, but not my presentation.
Yeah, we can't see anything here on our end. So
maybe I could just run through what I want to say without all the slides. That might be otherwise we're going to spend a lot of time just trying to figure out how to get this thing to work.
sure, no problem. If it's okay with you, we could always post the slides on our website for people to watch or to look at later.
Yep,
or email them
fine.
out. Or... Perfect. Yeah,
yep,
go ahead.
That's fine. So I am in Avi's organization. I'm in the directorate office, and I'm our chief for higher education. And in at Goddard in the science organization where Avi is located, and myself and several hundred other scientists, I orchestrate all the higher education programs and manage our main postdoctoral program. So I'm going to talk a little bit about those. The Postback program that Avi talked about is a really great, what I would call a pilot activity, something we've been thinking about doing for some time, but the agency hasn't really bought into that yet. So it's done on a, kind of a project at a time effort. It's really a test to see how well it's going to work, and maybe we can use that to convince the agency that they should invest some resources in it. So you won't hear about that from me, but I think he's doing great. I think that's something we need to do. So I'm going to talk first about our the NASA postdoctoral program, and that is about ready to change its main URL, but within the next couple of months it will move from those who might have a pencil or a computer at hand where you can type from npp.usra.edu to npp.orau.org. And that's because our contractor who supports the program is changing, and we're moving from one contractor to another. But the NPP program is for postdocs, that's someone who's just gotten their PhD or could have been, 4 or 5 years past their PhD. So we early career scientists can apply who are still in postdoc situations. Occasionally we have a senior postdoc position. People can apply who are perhaps on a sabbatical. So a young faculty member or someone who qualifies for sabbatical in the institution. The application process is to submit a 15-page research proposal in response to a research opportunity that's posted on that website We encourage individuals to strongly encourage individuals before they write a proposal to talk to the scientist who they think they'd like to work with about the proposal they're proposing to write. We highly encourage applicants to work with advisors as they write that proposal. The applicant absolutely has to write that proposal, but working with the scientist, they can customize that proposal to it so that it better fits NASA's interests. A proposal that doesn't really fit NASA's interests will just never be selected. And we occasionally do get some of those, but most of the time the applicants, get the message to go talk to somebody and, craft their proposal around those discussions. We get at Goddard, we have 3 application cycles, November 1st, March 1st, July 1st. The majority of our applications come in November because the astrophysics community pushes all of their applicants to the November cycle. Decisions from an application cycle are made about 2 months later. So for the November cycle, in late January, mid to late January, we'll be making our decisions about who's going to get selected. In the MPP program, we have an offer process, but we also have something called pending, which is like putting you in a wait list. It's a little different than a wait list, but it puts you in a holding status. Means that we might give you an offer. Could be anytime within the next year. I wouldn't stop you. It shouldn't stop you from making applications to other, other postdoc programs, but we do put you in a waiting period, and we do make offers off of that pending list. All the proposals are first reviewed by the advisor who's supposed to be the actual advisor for that fellow if they were made an offer and accepted. So to ensure that it's consistent with their research category. And sometimes I get comments from our revisors that, this is a great proposal, but I don't do this kind of research. And that's sad because it's too late I can't move it around to somebody else at that point. They needed to have, contacted an advisor or even contacted me at Goddard, and, I could have pointed them to somebody who was more aligned with their interests. But it goes out through external review. So the reviewers are just very much like the process that one would have if you had submitted a research proposal to NSF or to NASA. It's a standard research proposal length, the standard research proposal process. Just the evaluation criteria are different. And we have this advisor review process to make sure that the proposal is consistent with the kind of work that the advisor does. Let's see. And then we have 4 divisions in the science organization, and those divisions actually make the final selections. I and my colleague orchestrate the whole process, try and make sure it's fair. We try and encourage our divisions to have fair processes and provide them with a range of information during their selection process to encourage them to select applicants who are highly qualified and will expand our diversity and have a fair shake at the game, so to speak. All appointments are 2 years. Contingent. The first year is, the second year is really contingent upon acceptable performance in the first year. But honestly, I've been doing this for quite a while, and we have never turned anybody down for the second year. And by the time you get to be a postdoc, your motivation and your work ethic are pretty much in place. And you're paid. You get a stipend. The stipend is locality adjusted, so fellows at Goddard get paid more than fellows, say, we have fellows at Kennedy and fellows in Houston. And we also have a facility in New York City next to Columbia University, and they get paid more than the fellows in Greenbelt because the cost of living is more expensive in New York City. It's right in the middle of Manhattan. We also provide health insurance. The fellow pays a small amount of the stipend, but NASA pays the majority of the insurance costs. And we have a relocation fee costs. So if you're moving from out of country, or you're moving from across country, or anywhere that's outside of a 50-mile radius of Goddard, you have a relocation budget. Let's see what else. We have a travel policy. So you get a travel budget every year. What you don't use in 1 year rolls to the next year until you exit the program. I think that's it. That we have about 350 opportunities posted. We have more than that scientists, so we have a wide range of research opportunities in our 4 discipline areas, which are astrophysics, which is studying stars, galaxies, gravitational waves, anything you can think of in the outer universe, dark matter, the whole range of things. In planetary science, Avi spoke about some of the things there. We also do study comets and a whole wide range of other small bodies in the solar system, and both geologists and atmospheric scientists and people who are interested in oceans on other planets, and you name it, we've got it in planetary science. Heliophysics is the study of the sun, includes all the obvious things about what makes the sun tick. How do we know what it's going to do? I think the main focus there is to try and eventually do some predictive modeling, but I think we're a long way from that. And they also have a space weather prediction facility that they work with NOAA. NOAA has the official responsibility for space weather for the United States, but we provide major modeling capabilities and the research behind new models that eventually funnel into NOAA and into the Defense Department. Let's see. I think, and then we study auroras and a range of other kinds of things, including magnetosphere, upper atmosphere of the Earth. That's kind of the boundary between outer space and the atmosphere of the Earth, and that's mostly in our heliophysics division now. Earth science is very broad, land, water, ocean, atmosphere, the solid Earth, ranging from geophysics, measuring very small changes in orbits and orbital mechanics and gravitation and gravity of the planet, study of our oceans, especially the biological component of our ocean. Our earth science is mostly focused on climate and understanding the climate and how it changes on our planet, and what are the drivers and how do we model and predict it. The atmospheric science ranges from climate related to weather related. So there's a whole range of things there. And in the water area, it's not just the oceans, but freshwater, rainwater, and all the things associated with snow and ice. So we have a group of people who study glaciers and a group of people who study Antarctica and the ice sheets on a landed planet, as opposed to the ice sheets over oceans in the Arctic. So that's a range, and our postdocs fall into all of those categories, and graduate students fall into all of those categories. And I want to move to my next slide, which is really going to talk about graduate students. So the agency offers graduate training grants. They're offered through our science organization, through Science Mission Directorate. They do a yearly solicitation. I went out today to look if the solicitation for this year had been posted, because they usually post it in the fall, with proposals due sometime in the late winter, springtime. But the solicitation hasn't been posted yet, so that may mean it's going to be a little later. But the solicitation is available in something called Inspires, NSPIRES, and that's the online system that NASA provides for researchers to submit and write research proposals. So, you know, if any of you have a faculty member that you work with who submits NASA proposals, they will know all about Inspires and, you know, how to apply through it and how to find this graduate research opportunity. It's called Finesse. I never can remember the name of it. It has to do with some of the E's and S's are science and technology training grants or something. They keep changing the name every couple of years. It has a different name. But it funds graduate students, about 50 of them a year. And it funds them for 3 years. There is an option that you can put into your proposal to come and spend some time at a NASA center as part of your research. So, you know, your research project may be tightly related to something that's actually happening at a NASA facility. Your home institution doesn't have the equipment or the facilities you need, or doesn't have, you know, you want to venture into an expertise area where your department might not have someone who's an expert in that area, and Goddard has that person. And then, you know, you could come work with that person for 6 months or a year or a summer or whatever is in your proposal. So that is an option. I'm trying to think if I left anything else. Oh, those proposals are reviewed externally, just like, you know, anything in Inspires is. So it goes out to the research community with people who got expertise in those communities. I think that's pretty much all about the NEST program. It's broad-based, and it's a 3-year funded opportunity. The other thing I wanted to mention is a new program that we're partnering with an existing nonprofit organization. It was piloted last year. There's another pilot going on this year. So it's not broadly across the agency yet, but I believe the plan is that it will be once kind of all the kinks are worked out from it. It's specifically targeted to graduates, graduate education for individuals who are minority students who attend any type of institution. So, and this program is called GEM, GEM, Graduate Education for Minorities. You can go to the website and find out about it if you are, you know, if you're eligible. And the NASA component to that would be a funding a summer partnership for a GEM fellow with the intent that that fellow would be a first-year graduate student, and that we would eventually partner with the graduate student and the faculty member as part of the hopefully PhD, sometimes master's program that the student would be undertaking. So, you know, a lot of the GEM students are, when they apply, have not yet been accepted into graduate school. They've applied, but they haven't been accepted. So it kind of depends on, you know, where they land and who their advisor is and flexibility. But, you know, we're really looking to build longer term partnerships with faculty members at all kinds of institutions through a graduate student who we can help develop, who would potentially be an applicant, you know, for a NASA position, either as a postdoc or, you know, with my postdoc hat on, I'd be very interested in having applicants to our postdoc program. And then those postdocs, you know, eventually becoming, some of them anyway, becoming, you know, members of the NASA contractor community or our cooperative agreement community, or even civil servant hires. You know, a lot of those postdocs will go on to be employed by other agencies or by academia. Our foreign national postdocs often go back to their home country and become key influential players in their space programs in their home countries. But GEM is a new opportunity that's going to replace an opportunity that we have had that I did not really talk about, because the last class was accepted this fall. It will not be offered again. It was another graduate fellowship program that was targeted to students who attended minority serving institutions. So, you know, they're hoping to replace the GEM program with that. Let's see, and the next thing I wanted to talk about was undergraduate internships. So we have at Goddard, which is actually made up of 4 campuses. We have a campus in New York City, the one that's local in the Greenbelt, DC area, one at Wallops Flight Facility in Virginia, and one at the IB&B facility in West Virginia. And we also have a very small contingent at White Sands in New Mexico. But the vast majority of the interns are actually here at Goddard. The science organization usually has about 130 interns that come in the summer. Our internship program is actually active during the academic year. So we right now have about, I don't know, 15 to 30 fall interns that are working in the science organization. We also have interns in our engineering organization. So if any of you are engineering students, there's usually more students in the engineering organization than there are in the science, because it's even larger than our science organization, because they build a lot of the hardware that we actually build the hardware. So you apply through these, you go to intern.nasa.gov. If that's somewhat memorable, easy to remember. You have to register, and once you register, then you can apply, and you can do the registration through that website, and that will lead you into the application system. I will just warn you right now that the application system, we have a new application system, and I heard yesterday, the day before, there was a bug, a fatal bug in it that apparently is being fixed. I haven't heard that it's been fixed yet. So if any of you go in and try to apply and have difficulty, just take a deep breath and come back in a few days, because it will probably be working then. Like any new software system, there's always things that don't work. The spring applications, I think the application period is closed now, and we're soon to be opening up applications for summer. And most students are interested in summer. All of our internships are paid, and they're paid the same rate per week for all, no matter what session, whether it's a fall, spring, or summer. The fall and spring sessions are 16 weeks. They're longer than the summer. The summer is 10 weeks. Summer is just not long. We're not able to do longer. And that's partly because we draw students from all the way from Hawaii to, the East Coast. And schools get out at different times, and they start at different times, depending upon, where you are in the country. So, we have students who are, if we try and start June 1st, we have students who are still in school on June 1st. And if we try and end in September, we have students who have already started school because they start in August. So the summer period is shorter. The last year and a half, I guess that's a year and a half. And for this fall and spring, all of our internships have been virtual because of COVID, which really limits the kind of projects that we can do. For example, anything that requires working in a laboratory, requires, designing or building or testing hardware is not possible because you can't be on site. And we're hoping that by summer we will be on site. But honestly, that really depends upon the COVID situation. And Goddard is located in a county that is still in orange and was in red not too long ago. So depending upon what happens there, it will determine what we're going to do. And we won't really know for summer until probably March or April. A decision will be made based on the COVID situation. And that's all based on ensuring safety for the interns. That's the most important thing. But our fellows do have, we provide them with computers. We help them get set up with their IT access, and they have access to any of the IT assets at Goddard, including our supercomputer, through their advisors. So we do have quite a few students who actually use our supercomputing facility because the research that they're doing with their advisor for the summer requires that facility to do the project that they're doing. The student applies to an individual research project, and they're for spring, I think I saw a list today that probably had about 30 or 40 projects just in the sciences. In the fall, in the summer, we usually have 130 to 140 projects, sometimes 160 projects. And sometimes we have multiple students placed in those projects. Sometimes it's a single student. But they apply to that individual project. They go through a selection process, and then are selected for that project. Let's see. Grad students receive a larger stipend than students, undergraduates, because they've got more experience and more background, and they're better prepared. And we take on grad students who are, newly going into grad students, and PhD students who come as interns. And we have, a full range of undergraduate students. We also accept a handful of high school students from the local metro area. Because we're in virtual mode, the high school applicants can come from a broader range of places around the country, because we don't have to provide housing for the high school students, which introduces all kinds of legal issues that we just can't cope with, basically. But our students are funded from a whole wide range of sources. So NASA has money, our research scientists, NASA programs at the agency level have funding. Our research scientists at Goddard fund the vast majority of the students at Goddard. So you're actually working on a real authentic research project that needs to get done, that a scientist has been funded to do. None of our projects are kind of made up as a summer project, at least not in the sciences. They're real projects, and many of our fellows our interns end up being a co-author on a research paper. They may, especially if the student has come back for a couple of summers, and continued the work that they were doing, they will get their name on a research paper because they made significant contributions to its coming to be. And the fellows are also funded through the Space Grant Consortia. So, you're connected to a Virginia Space Grant Consortia. I'd highly recommend you find out who's the main POC for the Virginia Space Grant Consortium and talk to them, because they have a wide range of funding that, can help fund you perhaps at NASA for an internship. Many of our students who want to continue a summer internship into the academic year but aren't able to commit full time to it will either do a part-time internship, which we can do now and would be paid, or you can convert to something we call a student research assistant or a student research collaborator. We don't have a bureaucratic mechanism to pay those students, but the advisor may have a mechanism to pay the student, or you can get academic credit for that internship, as was mentioned earlier. And in fact, we've had a GMU student probably 5 years ago now, come in as a student research collaborator and worked with one of our scientists for a couple of summers, and he got research credit for that research that he did. So that is possible, and we've done that with several of the local universities. And that really does have to be orchestrated kind of through your advisor, and we don't have a lot of pull with the academic community in our universities, aside from being colleagues and persuading them that this would be a good student to set that up with. And so I think that's the standard internships. Student research collaborators, they can be part-time. They can be any kind of a cycle. We created the collaborators and the assistants so that they didn't have to be full-time. We knew there were a lot of local students that we were not able to, who couldn't be off full-time, and we couldn't give them part-time. And so we were trying to create something that would allow them to be part-time, or allow them to work over Christmas. Say they came in for the summer and then they work on their Christmas break, and they have a middle break between terms. And so they could work all of those things as they're doing their research project. I think that's it. The one thing I wanted to show you is a little chart that I've got here that kind of shows the who can participate, where the advisors can come from. That's more important to the advisor. And then whether they can be year-round or only summer, et cetera, academic year. So I'll give you this set of charts, and then you'll have them. Natasha will have them so she can put them in on your website so that you can have access to them. And that's all I wanted to say. And I think I took a lot more time than I should have.
Excellent. Thank you so very much for your time. All of this was extraordinarily helpful. And I know that all of our students that are watching this later are going to greatly benefit from all of the information that you provided. Does anyone have any questions at this time? Okay. Excellent. Well, thank you so very much, Dr. Meeson, for your time and all the wonderful information. And we will post the slides on our website. And, of course, if anybody has any other follow-up questions that you think of upon watching it back, we can help you get in touch.
Please feel free to contact me at any time.
Excellent. Thank you so very much. So I think that's all we have for today.
Okay.
So thank you so very much, everybody, for attending our lunch talk, whether asynchronously or synchronously. And we hope everybody has a very happy holiday.
All right.
Yeah,
You too.
thank you, everyone.
Enjoy your
And
Thanksgiving.
before we go, I just want to mention, I think at the beginning, I said this was going to be our last talk of the semester. That I was actually mistaken. We're going to have one more the week after Thanksgiving, just about closing the semester and things of that nature. So I hope to see you there.
All right. I'm going to leave now. Got somebody at my door. Bye-bye.
Great. All right.
Bye.
Bye.